Greetings. This is the instrument Sidekick video for the Flute, page 33, major scale B flat and concert B flat. That's right. For the Flute, instrument Sidekick, page 33, major scale B flat and concert B flat. So you'll also notice that this page is the purple belt test. You could get your purple belt if you can do this from memory. All right. Now, it's not going to be as hard as it's written here. I'll explain it all in just a moment. First, let me start from the top with major scale. Now, a scale is basically an order of notes where you go forward or backward in the music alphabet and a number of notes. In this case, major scales are 8 notes. And forward in the music alphabet, in other words, after G goes back to A. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So forward after G comes back to A, all right? And then backwards, you'd have G, F, E, D, C, B, A, and then goes back to G when you're going backwards, all right? So going up and down by scale is a very, very important thing. Most music is written by scales, and whenever you happen to go to do any particular solo or do NISMA or audition for any particular band, they're going to expect you to have at least this scale memorized, if not many more. So this is a good first step. Now, a major scale... All right. There's also minor scales. There's harmonic minor scales, melodic minor scales, natural minor scales, and all sorts of other kinds of scales. There are different kinds of scales, and it's kind of hard to explain. And this early on, I'm going to say, let's just leave that for later on. Let's just learn the scale and learn a number of scales in the future first, and then we'll kind of come back and explain why the scales are called major or minor and that kind of thing. All right? Right now, let's just learn the major scale. And this particular major scale is the most common to a flute player early on in their education. All right, so B flat and concert B flat. Concert B flat just means that when you play B flat, it's also the piano's B flat. It really doesn't mean much to a flute, but it means a lot to some other instruments which have to play different notes to sound the same as a certain note on the piano. Okay, so for you, that really doesn't mean anything. Just know that you'll hear B flat scale, and sometimes you hear the word concert B flat scale. For you, it still means play this order of notes, okay? And each band director, whenever they do it, are probably going to tell you to do it in a certain tempo, or maybe they're going to ask you to do it in a certain articulation. Maybe they want everything short or connected, all right? So this, like, first part, I wrote something where they would want it connected, all right? And they might want you to repeat the top note before you come back down. You always start in the bottom. You go by step going up, and then you go by step going down. Some band directors want you to repeat that note, some don't. Some maybe they want you to do it in half notes or whole notes or quarter notes or eighth notes or all sorts of kind of notes. But in whatever it is, the important thing first is the order. So that's why we're going to kind of ignoring the rhythm first here, because to get purple belt, you just have to be able to memorize this order of notes, and that's what's really, really important, okay? So we start off, being the B flat scale, we're going to start off on B flat. Whoa! All right, so we start off with B flat, and like I said, we go forward in the music alphabet first, and then we go backwards. Okay, and we keep going forward until we've gone 8 notes, and after 8 notes, you're going to reach the same name note, but higher, okay? So this is the B flat, our low B flat as a flute, okay, which is right in the middle of the staff, because we're kind of a high instrument. For us, that's low, all right? So we have B flat, and then we go up by step, so we go to C, to D, to our E flat, to our F, to our G, to our A, and to our B flat. Just nice, straightforward, right up our alphabet with the notes that we're used to being flat, okay? So we just kind of go right up there, and then it comes right back down, okay? So you have B flat down to A, G, F, E flat, D, C, and B flat, okay? So this order has to be memorized. So when you play it, you can just do it in any particular way. I'm going to go in about half notes or so, and in a fairly slow tempo, showing the fingerings and just playing it through, okay, just to make sure it's nice and clear. And to pass for your purple belt, it doesn't have to be this slow, it doesn't have to be done exactly this way, but it does have to be with this order of notes, okay? So first we have our B flat. And if you can do that in that order, that's fine. I wouldn't try to go like super fast, like a... because chances are, in your process of trying to rush really, really fast, you might skip a note, you might mistakenly hit a different note as you press one key and bring up another if you're trying to go too quickly. So I would keep it slow enough that it's clear that you understand how to play a B-flat scale. So that has to be done from memory. So when you go to your next lesson with Mr. Archie or whoever is teaching this, don't have it open to this page, okay? It's got to be memorized. So, have it open maybe to the previous page where you were working on your slurs and ties there. All right. So, other things I'm teaching on this page, though, that don't have anything to do with the purple belt test or having to do the major scale in auditions or anything like that. All right. A lot of things I want to talk about here. First, we're going to talk about these dots right here. We have a dot after a quarter note and a dot after an eighth note. Now, earlier in the book, back with Polly Wolly Doodle, we had dotted half notes, and we found that that was 3 beats. Now, the mistake most people make when they get there is they assume that a dot after a note, therefore, adds a beat, which is reasonable for you to think, okay? But that is not the case. Not the case at all. A dot actually adds half the original value. That's right, half the original value. So repeat after me. A dot. No, seriously, repeat after me. A dot adds half the original value. A dot adds, okay, half the original value. The original value. A dot adds half the original value. Okay, so a dot adds half the original value. So you got to figure out what the original values are before you understand the actual value of a dot in music, okay? So yeah, we have math. There's tons of math. We had quarter notes. We have eighth notes. If it didn't occur to you until now, yes, there's tons of math. So you're doing reading and math at the same time. Isn't that cool? While you're making art. It's crazy. Anyway, so a dot adds half the original value. So we take a half note, okay? We have a half note. The original value of a half note is, hopefully you said 2, all right? And then half of 2 is 1. 2 plus 1 is 3, okay? So now, let's go to a quarter note like we have right there, okay? So a quarter note. What's the original value of a quarter note? I hope you remember that it's 1 beat, okay? So, so hard math here. Here we go. What's half of 1? A half. Yes, half of 1 is a half of 1. That's how we say it in our language. Weird. And then, another difficult math problem. What's 1 plus a half? 1.5. That's what it is. The answer is the question. What is 1.5? 1.5. That's just how we say it. So that particular value of a dotted quarter note is 1.5 beats. So you would tap the beginning of the quarter note. You would tap the next beat, but then there's still half a beat where your foot comes back up. Now, if you remember, eighth notes are half a beat each. 1 when your foot is down, 1 when your foot is up. So you tap the next beat, And then you have the next half of a beat, which means we need an eighth note by itself. Okay? And that's when the beam just kind of falls to the side. And most music teachers call that a flag. Okay? Looks kind of like if you had a flag connected to a bottom of a pole and the wind was blowing it. Okay? Kind of goes over there. So a single eighth note. So it's 1.5 beats, and then when your foot comes up, you hit that. Ta-ti. Ta-ti. All right? So that's that. And then we have a dotted eighth note. Now this is difficult math. So you have to take the eighth note, which we just said is half a beat. Okay? So what's half of a half? Think about it. Half of a half. Okay, whenever you say of, that's a multiplication problem. So in other words, 1/2 times 1/2. Okay, so if you remember how you do your fractions, then you multiply the numerators, then you multiply the denominators, and then from there you would reduce if you had to, right? So 1 times 1 is 1, and 2 times 2 is 4, so 1/4. So half of a half is a fourth, okay? And we haven't talked a lot about 16th notes. Hopefully in your general music classes you have at this point. 16th notes have 2 beams, and they're 4 to a beat, each one 1/4 by itself. So we have 8th note, which is half a beat, plus a fourth. An 8th plus a 16th note. 1/2 plus 1/4. Now to do that problem, remember you have to make a common denominator, then add the numerators, and go from there. So in other words, you would have, instead of 1/2 plus 1/4, you'll have 2/4 plus 1/4, making 3/4. So a dotted eighth note is 3/4 of a beat. A dotted eighth note is 3/4 of a beat. And what's left? A single fourth, which means we need that single 16th note. So we have a beam being the eighth note and the dot. And then on that, to make that a 16th note, we have that second beam just sticking out just a little bit to let us know that that's a 16th note. So in this beat, if we divided it into 4 beats, which in most general music classes you would have said something like the number and E and A. Okay, so this is the third beat here. No, second beat here. So it'd be 2E and A. 2E and A. Okay, so you blow through the 2E and part, and you only do the next note on the 2E and da. Da, da. Da, da. Okay, so the rhythm here is da, 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 da. Ti, ta, ta, ta. I'll do it again. Pretend my finger is your, foot hitting the ground. All right? Ta, ta, ta-ta, ti-ta. Oh, I shouldn't tap the ground. You wouldn't tap the ground on a down, that it would have been up. Okay. I'll get this right. Ta, ta, ti-ta, ti-ta, ta, ta. Okay? Ta, ta, ti-ta, ti-ta, ta, ta. Okay? So that's the rhythm there. Now, so if you do that rhythm just right, it should sound like a song that you've heard. Okay? So here I have us just going up by quarter notes and then going down in that rhythm. So and hopefully that sounds familiar. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. Maybe it's a song you don't know. All right, but chances are you do. And so there we have it. So that's everything I wanted to teach you on this page. But remember, you just need to go up from B flat, 1 letter at a time, up 8 notes to the next B flat, and then come back down backwards. And it doesn't have to be in a particular rhythm to get your purple belt. This needs to be memorized. Absolutely 100% needs to be memorized. Your ability to do this particular scale is absolutely vital. You will be doing this scale every day, probably for the rest of your life. Okay, you are just going to see that scale happening in music a lot more now, and you're going to notice, oh my gosh, that's just this section of a scale or this part of the scale. It's the first 5 notes going up, or it's the last 5 notes going down. Very often, you're going to see patterns that involve that particular scale, and the more your fingers do it, the easier it is to do that particular song, whatever song it is. Okay, so worth learning. This is one of the absolute basics. We're actually getting into what we would consider basics. All right, so this is a very necessary in the foundation of your music knowledge, and you will be asked to do that B flat scale pretty much every lesson and band rehearsal for like the rest of your life. It's going to happen like a lot. Okay, so definitely memorize it. Show off to your teacher when you get a chance that you've memorized it, and hopefully you will earn your purple belt. And then move on to the next page, and by all means, may the force be with you.